Hey guys, welcome to Crystal Manga Cafe. Welcome to my YouTube channel on Star Gem, Life of a Christian Cosplayer. This microphone is not actually on. I'm about to program it. Sorry for the background noise. I'm watching. I just wanted to share with you I joined a podcast group, and if you're interested in starting your own podcast, I wanted you to see like what I go through from the beginning live as it's happening to build where I want to go, where I want to take it. I think the best experience to me is by going through it with it, so you could see everything, you can experience everything. None of these things are on right now. These are just props that I just like. It just like it matches. Um, so I'm home, I'm in my room, I'm on my laptop. Before I run to school, I wanted to get this work in. I'm listening to, I'm so bad with names, sorry. I'm really good with names, but right now, he's talking right now. So this is, begins with a J and ends with a B. So I joined his group, mentorship group, because they give you like a starter kit where you can have like templates and stuff if you really want to get serious about YouTube and having the proper thumbnails and things like that. And he's really good with Photoshop, so I'm getting into Photoshop. I haven't had time to do what I need to do, so I use this as a boost. I'm still gonna have to edit and do stuff like that, but this helped me, so I'm investing into this, and I feel like it's very important to have a voice. I signed up for New York Comic Con. I'm working on Shuri for the cosplay side of it. My husband wants to come too, but he's not. I don't think he's verified, so we'll see how we have to work that out. I have to get him verified. My son should come for free because he's under 2 years old. Well, under 3 for sure. I was talking earlier on my, yeah, check out my Snapchat channels and my other channels. This lighting, I'm sorry for the lighting. I should be wearing, anyway, just be yourself, just do what you got to do. You know, the first thing is just starting. So anyway, we're going to be talking about technology, which is one segment of, I'm interested in LED lights technology, so that will be part of cosplay technology, like as far as equipment and things like that, what I'm using to record. Right now I'm just using my phone. I have a Nikon. I have some more lights and things coming. I actually had some already, but my son kind of like destroyed some of it, so that's crazy. But and I have this as well, which he also destroyed, but it still works. So these will be things that I'll be using to record and edit and do what I do with, as well as my laptop. What else? Technology, cosplay, conventions, and video podcasts. So I just also, I will be talking about movie reviews that I've seen. So I'll be watching like a video and I'll be talking about it and the experience, because I kind of forget like after I've seen it, which makes for a great experience if you want to rewatch stuff. Let me turn this off. I'm sorry, it's very annoying. Okay, so sorry about that. Yeah. Thank you for joining. If you're just now tuning in, this is for the repost as well. So for those who are just joining in, I'm going to be consistently posting. I would love to do it every day, but realistically it may not be. So just bear with me as I try to gather a schedule with this, because my main goal is graduating school, and doing what I love, working on the business, Crystal Manga Cafe. I will be bringing you makeup reviews. Check that out on my channel. I want to use this as a podcast, as like an announcement to make for what Crystal Manga Cafe is doing, what conventions we'll be going to, which will be on Twitter, announcements, at least they should be, I guess, but I'm going to do it from here as well, because why not? Why not? Singing, producing, coding. I'll let you know of meetups. I have a meetup, Crystal Manga Cafe, meetups.com. I just have too much going on to not have a platform to tell you guys about. Check out Facebook groups that I have. There's a beauty special effects for people who are interested in body paint. I'm interested in beautiful makeup. I see like Face Off and so many beautiful things, and it just looks like they kind of ruins it to me when they put something ugly on it, and it's like that's the thing, like, because it's not beauty. But I want something that's like strictly beauty, fantasy, like The Last Unicorn slash Fantasia slash all the stuff that I saw as a kid that I thought was really beautiful and amazing. The characters I drew, the half naked babes that were like, I just thought they were pretty. Like, to me, you guys were like, don't you think that's a little, you're drawing them a little too naked? And I'm like, but she's pretty, you know, I want her to be pretty, you know, even though it was like, I guess sexy or whatever. I just want to be able to fully embrace what God has given me. I don't feel like it's wrong. I did artwork. I drew. I have my main background is from fine arts and drawing. I would draw what I see. I would draw in public. I would draw when I'm on the train. I would just draw. It would just draw people to me. They would come and talk to me and just be like, oh, what are you drawing? And I would just like, that would just be a weird way for me to just start conversations and things with people, because I was just focused on what I was doing. And it was a great conversation starter. I drew people. I would say, hey, can I draw you? Have them sit there and I'd be drawing them and sketching them. So I really want to keep that aspect of my skills and stuff that I do and take it to the next level of, basically, I want to take what I draw, I want to put onto the computer and make it into like 3D life. So I want to make it like create movies, have actors, actresses. I'm networking with a group of people. I had stuff planned, but we won't talk about that. No, we won't talk about that. We'll save that for another day. I'll do a story time, tea time thing. So this is just like an introduction to the introduction. How many introductions can we do? I'm going to keep doing introductions until I have like a set time, so that audiences can be like, okay, we expect Crystal Manga Cafe, Crystal Gem, Crystal Nina Star to come on at this time, and this is, we're talking about technology. Well, I guess the podcast will be split up into technology, anime, what's going on in the community. Oh yeah, what's going on. I actually posted something on my audio podcasts, which I recorded on my app Record. I'm gonna start posting up my YouTube. I'm gonna start reposting my podcast on my on SoundCloud. I think you have to pay for it, so I feel like that's like the legit level when you're like, I'm a real podcaster now because I'm advertising there. So you just keep saying it until it happens. So I'm gonna advertise like my beauty and stuff, like makeup. When I say beauty, like doing makeup and stuff like that, getting into that world, because I feel like it all blends together. Like, I was talking to a makeup artist. She was saying that I went to Mac's store. I went to the mall, and I spoke to Stephanie. Her name is Stephanie, and I was asking her about like going to IMATs and makeup shows and things of that nature. And she was giving me she's like, well, special effects is like on a whole other level. Like, that's really cool. Like, you should really go into that. So I definitely do want to do that. I'm going to explore it from my own point of view for now. I would like to go to makeup school eventually. If I was a billionaire, I'd be able to do it all. But honestly, you still have to manage your time. So it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or not. But I believe that God gives you what He gives you, and you can make it happen. So that's what's happening. I'm actually signed up for a Temp 2 airbrush. Well, it's a Temp 2 advanced makeup class, because I took some classes before with my cousin, and it was amazing. It was so good. And I think that's on my YouTube channel. I don't know, which is now. So I'm gonna save this, but I'm gonna keep going, and there's a lot to cover. So come with me. I'm going to be doing what I'm doing. I'm not really going to be talking too much. If I think of something, I'm going to jump in and talk about it. I will have more of a something more edited, more better for you. So I'll be bringing you better stuff. You'll be seeing my progress, me progressing over time, because I'm investing into it. I'm committed to it, and I want fun, cool stuff, as well as I want to try some natural things as well, because I think that could be pretty cool as well, to not be so professional, but kind of like that people see behind the scenes, so I consider this like behind the scenes. So this is behind the scenes, okay? So this isn't like a show because the mic isn't on, the lights aren't properly done. So this is behind the scenes of me getting started. So that's what I want to present to you. Like, I'm not a professional, I'm not an expert. I'm learning from the professionals, I'm learning from the experts. I'm becoming that myself by experience. I feel like your best teacher is experience. So we've been on for like 10 minutes already live, so that's cool. I want this to be about like maybe 45 to an hour long. So I'm just gonna like let Robert, oh, that's his name, Robert Blake. I joined Robert Blake's group. Check him out. He's amazing. He knows what he's talking about. I feel like he's way underappreciated, way undervalued. He is such a hard worker, and I admire hard workers. I'm a hard worker, you know, multitasking, doing a gazillion things at once, but still making it work and being successful at it. So, let me put this here. Let's put this here. I think it looks cool like that. I don't want it to fall. So yeah, I need to program this. I want to program this, and I want to sing for you guys. I'm gonna do some production, you know. All right, so I'm taking care of some stuff. Is this set up for auto pay? Gotta pay out school loans, you know what I'm saying? You want to do all this stuff, you gotta pay, you gotta pay. Yeah. Let's see here. So that should be done. All right, I'm gonna turn this off. Let me see, I'm going through my emails. Like I said, this is behind the scenes, and I want to show you where I'm coming from, who I am, so you can get to know me. I get to know you. My goal is I want to get into cybersecurity. I want to be able to protect my business. So if you are a person who is into computers, you know the computers very well. I do not claim to know everything. I want to network with people who are geniuses at what they do, and you guys basically all pull each other up, help each other out, and I'm looking to put together an awesome team. So if you are interested, contact me. I'm a cosplayer. I love playing video games. I haven't had much time to do it. I'm also a mom. I'm a wife. Yay! And I'm gonna record all that because I think it's worth recording and celebrating. You need to enjoy life. You need to, you know, have fun. Life is too strict. I think it needs to be more fun. All right, let me close this. What is this? So, yeah, we're going to talk about video games. I'm going to be on Twitch, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, definitely Instagram. I used to have almost 60,000 followers, which isn't much for a lot of people, but I want to rebuild that back up. I was a repost page, and now I have my own music and be promoting my own stuff, including my son, my husband's stuff, my stuff. So just basically to create a platform to let people know, hey, we're here, check us out.
So yay. But she started a new podcast recently.
This is on YouTube.
Her new podcast, The Creative Exchange, is a video podcast that also distributes and syndicates. And so I wouldn't worry about that too much, because if you aren't meeting expectations that people have in a video platform, it could go very badly. So when you upload that, you know, that's a problem. Now,
am I meeting your expectations?
A very advanced hack if you absolutely want to take advantage of your own old archive. Is anyone here familiar with a program called Adobe After Effects? A few of you. For those of you who are not, Adobe After Effects is an animation program that Adobe has in their software suite, the Creative Cloud, and they have a new product that aligns with that called the Adobe Character Animator. If you already are profitable on your podcast and you want to repurpose an audio inventory, there's a clever trick that you could do. You could hire an After Effects specialist that can make these animated character puppets. And you could literally have a talking head puppet that can roll its eyes, open its mouth, and it will lip sync exactly to your existing audio content. And so you could have this repurpose your existing audio content as an animated podcast if you were doing audio only and wanted to come to YouTube. This will not be cheap. It will not be wildly expensive. It will be somewhere in between, and you'll have to hire someone good. But it is something that is unique and that very few people are taking advantage of. And even if more people do it, it still will be a novelty because it will not be the majority of people. And it could make you stand out, and it could add something interesting and visually dynamic to your existing brand.
I might have to get
So if you
makeup
wanted
today.
to go that route, that
Really
is the
don't
more
want to order any more
practical
stuff,
way
but I
to do it
need
without
my
seeming
spray gun.
like you're being
Yeah, this
quote
what I want to
unquote
do is
lazy,
not
or
cheap,
you're just going
so.
for like, you know, low-hanging fruit. This is a way to do it in a
Wicked
very
fancy.
polished and nuanced way that creates some interesting value and gives people the option of, I'll just listen only, or okay, I still like the quirky animated character here and I can just sit down and enjoy this, or not. You know, it just means that you're still meeting a reasonable standard of quality in terms of a video presence and the expectation of, I clicked on a video. If I wanted audio only, I would have went to an audio only platform, etc. So that's just something to keep in mind when we're talking about context of platform. Context always matters, and I think that podcasters, especially those of you who cover news topics, can really appreciate how much context matters. So YouTube is a video platform first. It is a video platform first, but it's not a video platform only. It is video, it is audio, but it's also engagement, and then it also can become and evolve into a dialogue with regard to how you interact with people in your comments. So when you are doing YouTube, you can't prioritize the audio experience in the same way that you have previously. You'll find that what you may not even be satisfying to you from an audio experience standpoint as a podcaster is exponentially better than any audio experience a YouTube viewer has ever had. So you don't have to be a perfectionist in the same way when it comes to your audio on YouTube, but you do have to meet a minimum threshold of acceptable quality on video, and you don't have to have a polished video to the same extent that you do the polished audio. Audio is still very important in YouTube. It is probably even more important to the overall experience of getting through the content. You know, people really don't want to watch a video that makes their ears bleed. They're really not into it, but it doesn't have to be perfect. The video itself doesn't even have to be perfect, but it still has to be good enough, and we're going to get into what that means. Now, I also want to pivot real quickly. I want you to understand that in the past, you've based the success on your podcast on downloads, correct? Yeah. Someone tell me what they think. Like, you know, someone volunteer to give me this answer and I'll pick someone. What do you guys think is the number of downloads for a successful or good podcast? Some volunteers, raise your hands and I'll pick your answers. Gentlemen in the back. 500 downloads is a quality podcast. All right, that's a good number. Anybody else? 500, going once, going twice? Okay, so 500 downloads is a quality podcast. That's a successful podcast. I agree with that number. I think that's a solid number. I would even say conservatively that maybe 200 downloads, 100 downloads an episode is a solid episode. That's a lot of people opting to say yes and please and thank you. Views, or rather listens in terms of a podcast, usually are exponentially more than what the downloads are anyway, because most people consume the episode and move on. That being said, YouTube success shouldn't be measured in the top line metric of views or subscriptions in terms of your subscriber count. It really shouldn't. It's more important that YouTube facilitate whatever your business objective is, or whatever the personal goal you set for this channel actually is, outside of those numbers. What do I mean by that? If there's a financial revenue driver behind you starting a YouTube channel, meeting that is probably the success measurement you should use. I know YouTubers who have 1 million to 500,000 subscribers that can't make a living on YouTube, and I know YouTubers with 10,000 subscribers that can. So it makes a real difference. You can't judge the quality of a YouTube channel purely on how many views or how many subscribers it has. And revenue is not the only important thing. There might be a small niche that's underserved in YouTube, especially you as podcasters might have something that's very niche specific, but it's an underrepresented thing in YouTube because people can't get the big numbers of views that they want or the big subscriber audience that they want. But those people, whether they're 500 or 5,000 people, that care about this very specific thing still matter. They're still important. They should still be served. And so I think as podcasters, you really can appreciate that every single one of those people is, every one of those numbers is an actual person on the other end, because with you guys speaking directly to your audience rather than performing for them on camera, The intimacy that you interpret with regard to your audience is probably deeper than most YouTubers when they're starting out actually appreciate. So I want you to philosophically embrace this idea that you don't have to be big on YouTube to be successful on YouTube, because as podcasters, you know that a small but loyal audience can be more than enough to make an impact and make a difference, and that each one of those people actually matters, and that they could make a big difference in terms of revenue for you, because in the same way that one loyal listener could then convert to a client, it's the same in YouTube. One view could be the right view. One view might be a producer at a news network or at Conan or Ellen. One view might be the client that writes a $10,000 check. One view might be the person who decides to bring you to a speaking engagement at a conference that makes a difference in your career. So just understand that it's more than the views. I know it's easy to get caught up in the hype of the views and the subscribers. Don't do it. Objective quality. Objective quality is the thing that a lot of people initially focus on, and they should. It's not the only measure of quality, but it's important for us to talk about it because this is the starting point, and this is the thing that you can actually control. Quality in itself is somewhat in the eye of the beholder, but there are objective, measurable things when it comes to quality. As podcasters, you know this in the form of audio. You know that a lack of background noise, ambient noise, interference, having the right decibel levels, doing appropriate levels of noise reduction and it not being overly produced, not having, like processing the right amount of room tone and reverb, all of these things is like, this sounds familiar, right? That is objective quality when it comes to the production of your podcast. And in YouTube, it is objective quality in the form of the audio quality. With video, it's very similar. Is this lit very well? Does this have grain and noise? Is it distracting? Does every dark area of the video look like it has snowflakes on it because of the fact that it's not, set up for low light situations? Is the main subject in focus and tack sharp? Is the background distracting or disorganized or just a mess? Is the editing quality consistent? Is it appropriate? Did they edit out the mistakes that they needed to? Or is this overproduced and over-edited, and is it hard to watch? These things are objective measures of the quality of your video content that are obvious to anybody and impact the experience, because, again, it's about what we're seeing. Does this represent the video well? Is it hard to watch? It's very hard to watch a blurry video and get any satisfaction from it. It's very hard to watch an unstable video that's shaking everywhere and everything like that. It's like, I think I can give Cloverfield a pass, but some people disagree. Shaky cam's not fun, unless it is. And then in terms of the aesthetic value of the video, in terms of how nice it looks, how thoughtful every individual set piece was, so on and so forth. Or if you're doing green screen, was this well done? Or is it, something that is like a little choppy or looks amateurish? These things all are things you're going to be judged on. And then, of course, whether the audio makes anyone's ears bleed or not. So, objective quality. Now, a minute ago, I talked about podcasting equipment for video. This is your short list, and it's pretty robust. And can most of you see that, or am I in the way, or what's going on? All right. Now, I'm going to make sure I get you guys these slides, and I'm going to run through it here in audio for you as well. So I would recommend 1 to 3 DSLR-style cameras. Jared Polin tends to use 3 DSLR-style cameras plus 1 or 2 GoPros, maybe 4 cameras now for his YouTube podcast, Raw Talk, which he's been doing for 8 years as a video podcast, which is extremely impressive. I'm always impressed with what Jaren's doing as a creative entrepreneur. And so his whole brand is Fro Knows Photo. Anyone here familiar with Fro Knows Photo? Anyone ever listen to the Raw Talk podcast? It's a photography podcast. It's really cool. And I dig the fact that he's been upping his game for 8 years straight. That's hard to do at anything, right? So the reason for so many cameras, and this just depends on how many subjects you're going to have, is if you're doing a one-on-one interview style podcast, you could get away with like 1 DSLR camera, and then maybe if you have someone hand-holding a smaller camera to do the wide angle, or you set up a GoPro, you could do that. My preference would be for you, ideally, to have one camera on yourself, one camera on your interview subject, and then one camera for safety that has the wide angle of both of you. And so that is what I think is the most practical thing to do if you can do that and if you can invest in that. You don't have to start there. If you're doing a solo podcast, you could literally just have one camera, and it could just be a regular DSLR style camera. Again, I prefer the Panasonic GH5, which is sitting in the corner over there, because unlimited record time. So that's a factor in long form content. Otherwise, you would have to have an assistant resetting the camera every 20 to 30 minutes. So that's why I recommend using that particular type of camera, and that's why I also think having the multiple angles makes sense, because then you can have that cut from you to your interviewee based on the timing and based on what the questions are, things of that nature. And again, you have the wide angle to show you both in context. A webcam is great in general for live to tape, or if you're doing remote interview podcast, then that's practical. And you can use either Skype with the Ecamm plugin, or my preference, Zoom.us, which has a lot of great features, hashtag not sponsored by Zoom. But I think that is extraordinarily practical. It works out really well. I find it to be more stable and reliable than Skype on a regular basis personally, and I love that it has the recording feature already built in, and I love that you can have, without any other plugins or any problems, multiple people on the call. So that's why I kind of prefer it. You also should consider having not only XLR mics, but USB mics for this, just because depending on what you might want to do, there's so many formats you could use for doing your podcast. And let's say you're traveling you're on the road, it might be really practical to have a simpler setup sometimes. So, or if you're doing the interview style podcast from the webcam, maybe the USB microphone just is more practical in your situation than the XLR. So I like having both options. You can go either way. Mixing boards, I think we all know how valuable those can be with adjusting noise and gain and getting all the levels right. Monitor headphones, my favorite are Sennheiser. A lot of people have their preference. I think that Audio-Technica does a great job as well. Just never use Beats by Dre. So I think that you guys pretty much probably know about the audio components of this, but in the context of video, I prefer to run the audio directly into my camera instead of syncing in post with a clap or relying on the software to get it right. I prefer to have a direct line into my camera for at least the main audio source, and then maybe have something else as a backup. This is where XLR microphones with good 0.35 millimeter jack converters come in, and this is where I like Sennheiser and products like that, and Rode as well. They do a good job. So I would recommend maybe going that route. And if you are using the Panasonic GH5, keep in mind, it does have its own accessory that takes two native XLR inputs. So as a portable Micro Four Thirds style camera with a flip out screen and a touch screen, just adding that other, $400 accessory and just plugging your existing podcast microphones into it, that could save you a lot of time and trouble, and you'll just want to, make sure it's compatible with your current setup. So of course there's that. And then all of you know about your boom stands, your pop filters, and things of that nature, and those accessories. So I didn't really put it in here. If you're doing a live to tape podcast and you want to use a DSLR style camera instead of a webcam, you'll need a video capture card. Blackmagic Shuttle Intensity is the one I typically use in those situations. You could also use one that is popular with video game players, the Elgato Game Capture. That works out really well. As a backup audio source, when you have multiple cameras, don't be afraid to use a shotgun microphone. And for those of you who are doing short form podcasts that are 10 or 15 minutes, anybody here doing like a 15-minute or less podcast? All right, so for a lot of you, you could use the traditional YouTube setup, and you could use a shotgun microphone like the Sennheiser MK600 or the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus, about roughly the same price, or even the Sennheiser MKE 440. You could use those as shotgun microphones, and you could go ahead and just set up the single camera, film a talking head style video direct to tape, and you could actually repurpose that as a podcast and have it as a straightforward traditional YouTube video. So that is an option. And also, if you wanted to, you could use a remote lavalier mic in that situation. You could make a traditional style YouTube video if you already have the camera gear, and then you could repurpose that in a short form podcast without a tremendous amount of effort. So that is another option available to you. And of course, having a digital audio recorder as another backup source for your audio for redundancy, wildly practical, especially if this is a once-in-a-lifetime interview and you're invested in this. Finally, last thing, large capacity SD cards. Large capacity SD cards. 128 gigs, I am not even joking, 128 gigs. If you are doing an hour-long interview or presentation, it will eat an entire 64 gig card, and you better hope that you don't go over. It will be done. So I would recommend 128 gig SD cards as the bare minimum for long-form content. And I think it's extraordinarily important to always give yourself that safety room. If you're ambitious and you also just want as much safety as possible, make the extra investment and get a 256 gig card. It seems like overkill, but it's not. Your audio files do not compare in size to these video files, and you probably at some point will want some large form storage for your archives, like a NAS system. I recently had Synology send me a 64 terabyte archive NAS system for all of my multimedia, and I will have some videos coming out specifically about this setup, but it was something that I think I really needed if I'm going to make sure that I don't lose all this valuable content forever, and it's expandable and I will need more of it. Quality comes down to the experience the video creates. All this equipment that we're investing in is to eliminate distractions and to improve the quality of the video from an experience standpoint, because again, something that is like dark and noisy is not a good video to watch. Something that's not well lit is not a good video to watch. Something that has horrible, god-awful audio is not a good video experience, right? So that matters. But it's only half of the equation, and it's the most controllable one, so that's why I spent so much time and I lead with it, because it's the thing that you can absolutely get better at over time very quickly, or that you could just throw money at, or that you could throw outsourcing at. So, wildly practical. Subjective quality. This is painful. Subjective quality. No matter how hard you try, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, quality is in the eye of the beholder. There's going to be somebody who doesn't like it no matter how hard you work on it. Anybody familiar with that? Anybody have that? Anybody have a favorite troll or heckler in their community? Yeah. So, what do we do about subjective quality? Well, with video, on-camera presence.